It's been kind of an interesting few weeks since we were last recording.
It has been. It's a crazy election season for sure.
Yes, and that's what we're going to talk about. And nothing we're going to talk about is why nobody's seen us in a few weeks, and that's because we've actually been working to get our products ready to sell.
Right.
And of course, there are people who know my products that know me and wondering why my products haven't already been for sale. And the reason why is because it's not because I believe I have poor products. It's the exact opposite of that. I believe that I have very good products, and I expect that if I got really popular, that some people in government bureaucracies would attempt to put me back out of business.
I agree.
And it's not so much about me, but I have children too.
That's right.
And I can make myself a target, but it's not fair to them to make them a target as well as myself.
Isn't that very telling about where we are as a country, that you are a innovator, patent holder, developer of products that essentially are constitutionally protected products.
Right. There's nothing about any of my products that are illegal in any way, shape, or form. Nothing.
No.
But yet the expectation is that they would still come after me.
Right. That we live at a time in our country where somebody who has a passion for developing innovative products for firearm accessories, and even I know you're a gunsmith. You can build guns and design guns, and that is constitutionally protected.
Yes,
we have the right to keep and bear arms, and yet we're at a time in our country now where you are not only in fear of your company getting shut down altogether,
right,
but in fear of government reprisal against you directly.
Yes.
And that's why this election, one of the many reasons why this election is so important.
Well, the thing about this election is that although you have candidates Trump and Kamala, the election is far beyond either person running. It's about the control of knowledge.
Right.
Elon gets it. That's the reason why he is involved in this election, because he understands that knowledge is what is at stake.
That's right.
With this.
That's right.
The gatekeepers of knowledge used to be the institutions of higher learning, and the antiquated press used to be our gatekeepers for such things. But now they have shirked their duty. They actually are against the furthering of knowledge.
Yes.
And that's what has them so dangerous. And I'll even use the word irrational, because they no longer have the monopoly on what is truth and knowledge.
Right.
And they are rebelling against their loss of control.
That's right.
I mean, and the thing is they want to control what is believed. I mean, even so much so that they expect us just to accept that men can be women and women can be men,
right,
simply because they wish to be.
That's right.
Now, if your sex chromosomes are X and Y, it's pretty clear, and if you have biology of a male, it's pretty clear what your sex is.
That's right.
And and there are genetic
not to mention the fact that you can see it.
Right. Well, I mean, there are. I will not deny the medical abnormalities that can occur with very narrow percentage.
Right, but they are abnormalities, not normalities.
Right. That's exactly right.
The thing that they're trying to do is to make it normal rather than saying, well, that's an abnormality that needs some form of treatment.
Well, then the thing is that it's the exact opposite of what they're doing. Right. I mean, they are not only trying to change it, they're encouraging it. And that's one thing that that people object about is the fact that children are being actually targeted to destroy the future of their life. I mean, that's...
Isn't that an accurate use of the word groomer then?
Well, I mean, the thing is that
they're specifically targeting children to manipulate the way that they think and believe. Well, that's grooming, isn't it?
Yes. Well, the thing is, it goes way beyond that.
Right.
I mean, that's sure, that's in there. I mean, and you could even look at, you have a company whose products are geared toward filming children.
Yes.
And then you're going to be surprised in a generation that there are pedophiles in the entity.
Right. Yes, that's right.
They are wanting to make us accept things that are nonsense, and they expect that to be treated normally. And the thing is that
they're trying to normalize what any sane society has always viewed as abnormal.
Yes. Yes. Well, I mean, and the thing is that I think it also goes back to the definition of marriage. I mean, other countries that have incorporated homosexuality into their culture still historically have defined marriage as between man and a woman.
Right.
It doesn't mean that that people who want marriage to be a man and a woman are against people who want to be together. That's not that at all. I don't know anybody who actually believes that. They want to sell that is the reason, is because we don't want people to be together and to love each other. No, what we want is the definitions that have been in place for a really, really, really long time to be changed.
Yeah, that's right.
And so they want us to accept them, encouraging transitions. They want to encourage people to engage in homosexual lifestyles. They want to encourage all of these things. And the thing is if I showed what they are, quote, teaching, I would be in jail
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean,
so if it's wrong for me to do so, it's wrong for anybody to do so. And they want us to accept the fact that because now it's employed by our educational system, that it should be embraced.
Right. That's right. Yeah, you take one of those books that they're promoting for children. You take one of those books out to the city park and just stand in the middle of the park and put the pictures from the book up on a screen and read the book aloud in the park. And you're right. You're absolutely right. You would be arrested for public indecency for doing that.
Right. Well, and also if I approached a child with that, I would be in jail for
corruption of a minor.
Yes, there's a whole string of
attempted
offenses that I could be charged with. That's exactly right.
But yet it's okay as long as it's in the elementary school library.
Yes, that's exactly right. And we're just supposed to accept that that's the way it is.
Right.
I mean, and that goes back to the gatekeepers of knowledge and our society. It goes back to the antiquated press and the institutions of higher learning that just want us to incorporate this into our society.
That's right.
And our society is saying, no, we don't want that. And what's happening is the privilege that has been granted to the institution of higher learning and to the antiquated press, their ability is now being abused. And knowledge is now what's at stake in this election, because it's about what information we can find on the internet.
Yes.
And they want to have control of those definitions.
Right.
You know, and you think about the abortion, the problem isn't, okay, the problem is killing babies. But the problem is they're encouraging people to kill their babies.
Yes.
I mean, if you perform a sacrifice of an animal that makes your life better, what is that, Norm?
a sacrifice of an animal that makes your life better.
Right. Isn't that kind of like a witchcraft kind of a
Oh, you mean like voodoo?
Yeah, or
like the Haitians in Springfield, Ohio?
Or demonic.
Right, absolutely, yes.
So, and they want...
You're sacrificing an animal. I see what you're saying now. You're sacrificing an animal like a prayer for blessings.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, your life is going to be better if you kill this child, if you kill this baby.
That's right.
And it boils down to, how do you define a baby? Is it a clump of cells? When does the clump of cells turn into an actual human?
Right.
I mean, that's the reason why you have the heartbeat bills coming up at 6 weeks, because you have a heartbeat.
That's right.
That's no. And the thing is they want to bring up a counter argument against abortion being the mommy's life. Nobody is talking about a mom endangering herself to keep the child.
Right.
The problem is people want, the problem is people that want to kill a baby because it makes their life better.
Right. And if you notice what they've done with health of the mother, which I don't know, I know, I can speak for me personally, because I know my heart, my conscience, and the life of that unborn baby is just as important to me as the life of the mother.
Yes.
So when you're talking about, abortion, the exception for abortion being, the life of the mother.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
I can go along with that. If it's a medical procedure and the doctor has to do triage essentially to say, there's a possibility I can save the mother. There's no possibility I can save the infant. Okay, well then save the mother.
Right, yes.
Or I can save the infant, but there's no possibility I'm going to save the mother. Okay, well then save the infant, right? That would be a legitimate scenario of in the life of the mother.
Right, but nevertheless,
if you can save both, do your absolute best to save both, and if one of them dies, you did your best.
Right, but the thing is that we're once again talking about the medical anomaly of a very, very small percentage versus those who just wish to kill their unborn child because it's going to interfere with their career or their life as they understand it.
And that's what they've done with health of the mother.
Right.
They've said, including the mental health. So now the girl says, well, this pregnancy is causing me emotional pain and emotional suffering. And so that, this exception for health of the mother, we can kill the baby for that reason.
That's right. And there's no discussion of cause and effect.
Right.
And there's a whole bunch of stuff that they want us just to accept without cause and effect.
That's right.
Correlation does not prove causality.
Right.
That's one of the things about the global warming stuff, which we're going to get into, is the fact that correlation does not prove cause. Right. I mean, yes, you can look at temperatures going up, CO2 levels, there's a problem there, and decide that, oh, look, they're related because they both exist at the same time.
Right.
Right. But the problem is, and this is one of the things of the institutions of higher learning and the antiquated press abusing, is this. Because the CO2, I believed in global warming and CO2 a long time ago. And the person who changed my mind about it was a gentleman by the name of Patrick Moore. He is now in charge of the CO2 Coalition. He used to be one of the founders of Greenpeace. And he left Greenpeace when they turned into a political institution instead of following the science. I mean, CO2 levels, since I believed in global warming, have been this number, 0.04%.
Excuse me for just a minute, Chris, before you get into the science.
Okay, go ahead.
That's a very interesting pointer you're using there.
Well, I considered using the purple gun barrel or the green gun barrel, and I chose the golden gun barrel.
Folks, when you watch KudzuCast from Kudzu Arms, The pointers are gun barrels.
They are for today.
They are for today.
So, at any rate, for those who, haven't done math since they were in high school, 0.04% is 0.004, which as a fraction, that's 4 parts over 1,000. So in our atmosphere, you have 1,000 particles that out of 1,000 particles, 4 are CO2.
Okay.
And this level has not changed since I believed in it. And they never, and you would think that if you're following the science, that they would discuss the science, but they never discuss the math. You never see the numbers. And the reason why is because it doesn't work for them anymore.
That's right.
And when you start talking about the numbers haven't changed. When you talking about this man-made global warming from CO2, CO2 is actually the most critical and significant gas in our atmosphere. It is the base of our entire environmental system here on the surface of the earth. Now, if I lived at a steam vent in a volcano at the bottom of the ocean, I would not be dependent necessarily on our atmosphere and what goes on. I would live in an entirely different environment.
Right.
But in this environment, CO2 is the basis of our food chain. Plants grab hold of the carbon off of the CO2 molecule and they keep it and they give us back the oxygen. And the thing is that when you get down to 0.03%, sorry, I left that off.
Pay attention, boys and girls. Chris has studied this.
At this level is where our food chain, our environmental sustainability folds. You have to have this amount for the plants that provide us food and life to continue to exist.
So that would be 1/1000th of or 1/100th of a point.
Yes.
Between sustainability and insustainability.
Yes. Yes. Here we live below here.
Like
we die.
0.029. We're dead.
Yes, death. Yes. Yes, less
so
than
less
that.
than that is death.
Right. And I have heard this number, we'll discuss it too, of not being 0.03%. I should say. Do it like this. That being the number for our survival instead of 0.03, 0.021.
Okay.
So the difference, you subtract.
So just to be clear, that number is the percentage of our atmosphere that must be CO2 for us to survive.
For us to survive.
For life to exist on Earth.
Right. And the number for life to not work is less than this. Or I have heard some sources that have said it's that. Either way, our food chain is barely above the level where life is unsustainable.
Right.
Not the other way around. And once again, they're wanting to control knowledge. They aren't wanting to tell people the actual numbers.
Right.
And that's not just the only area in which they're trying to control our knowledge, which is ultimately what this election is about. It's not about Trump. It's not about Kamala. It's about what truth really is.
Right.
The truth that they want to discard. All right, number one, they want to look at all religions as being equal. Mm-hmm. Okay? And then they want to discard all of them because it's all been made up. And yet, meanwhile, while they are talking down to us because our religions are all made up, they want to tell me that a man being a woman and a woman being a man is not made up. Okay, so they're wanting to encourage homosexuality. They're wanting to encourage abortion. They're wanting to encourage transitioning.
Right.
And they don't want discussion, open discussion about such matters. The same with global warming and CO2.
Yeah.
They don't want it discussed. They want us just to accept that that's the way it is because that's what they say it is.
That's right.
And it's not, it doesn't work that way in real life.
Right. You know, all of the stuff that I've seen about the global warming so-called epidemic and all these things, I've never heard any discussion of those numbers.
No, you won't. No,
Never.
absolutely not. And by the way, the source that you want to look at for this is the CO2coalition.org.
CO2coalition.org.
Yeah, and that's Patrick. Patrick Moores is one of the contributors to this site. You know,
and they're kind of like the whistleblowers on the vaccine that got ostracized and everything from the scientific community because they took a different narrative. So this CO2 coalition, you never hear about them because
they don't match what they want us to believe.
The mainstream endorsed view,
right?
Or the I should say the mainstream media endorsed position,
right? Because they want control,
right?
They want control. So here, let's do a visual of CO2. All right, here we have a little tiny bit of CO2. Oh, look how quick it heats up. Look at that. Boy, that's fast, isn't it?
Instant.
Now,
so that's CO2.
That's 0.004. All right, let's increase that. Oh, look, I can hold this with my bare hand. Look, it doesn't get nearly as hot and as fast when you add more CO2 to the atmosphere. Look at that. Matter of fact, there's not hardly any change at all. Look at that. Yeah. Wow.
It probably burned me, but it's not glowing red, right?
Right. Well, I mean, I can hold the other end of this on the wire. I wasn't going to hold. But there's a visual of the difference between a little tiny bit of CO2 and a lot more CO2. Right. And not only that, our food has more food. So
yeah, see that's the thing. Without the CO2 level at the right ratio for plant life, if the plant life dies, we die.
Yes, that's exactly right. Unless we want to figure out how to live at a volcano vent at the bottom of the ocean.
Yeah, well, probably not going to work.
I don't know. We can do a lot of things. But anyway, let's talk about what green energy looks like. Okay. So who believes that miles and miles of square miles of solar panels is green? What's green about miles of solar panels? Number one, you have to mine the resources out of the dirt, which China has a monopoly on, and you're saying that China's doing good environmental work mining these metals?
See, that's one of the biggest red flags, or really loud honking siren going off about the whole Green New Deal stuff and the windmills and the solar and which, not saying that those are bad technologies.
No,
but they're not ready for scaling to the degree that we would need to provide even a reasonable portion of our electricity coming from those sources. They're just not there.
No. And the lie is that it's better for the environment.
Right. But China having a monopoly on the rare earth minerals that are required for those technologies tells me more than I need to know about why it's being pushed the way that it is.
Right. And there's nothing green about a windmill blade.
Right.
I mean, it's fiberglass is how that's done.
Right.
I've done fiberglass work. there are big environmental warnings on the side of the barrels of the chemicals that you use to do such a thing. And you're going to tell me that you clear all the animal and plant life from an area where you're going to put a bunch of windmills and then tell me that that's good for the environment.
Right. Yeah, that's what Trump was saying to, I think it was with Joe Rogan. Was that not the most fantastic interview you've ever seen with a political candidate ever?
The thing is it's honest. As much as they want to claim that Trump is the biggest liar, he's the one that can sit down with somebody and have a 3-hour conversation about things, and you don't afterwards start picking apart what everything he said was wrong.
Now, do you think that there might be any correlation between the leftist New Green Deal agenda and the fact that Kamala's running mate, VP pick, has some pretty dubious ties to China?
Well, the thing is also is they're not wanting to present China as any sort of an opposition to the United States. They want it to look like, oh, just one big happy family.
Right.
China doesn't view it that way. No, not at all. No. They're fine with us destroying ourselves on a green agenda while they expand their fossil fuel power grid to 1,000% of fossil fuel electric plants. And we want to cut our own necks for making no difference at all in the temperature. They want us to so that tells you there's something else going on. If they want us to destroy ourselves for something that isn't going to make any difference, period. That's the only result of the green, quote, Green New Deal is our destruction.
Do you remember Bill Clinton?
Right.
His first run for president?
Was that before or after Epstein Island?
He probably launched his campaign from Epstein Island.
Yeah, right. Anyway, I'm sorry. I got sidetracked. Sorry, continue.
But you remember Bill Clinton and Al Gore were running. What year was that? Probably 86, 87. Anyway, it was when Bill Clinton and Al Gore were running for the first term, and I remember because, to my shame, I was a gullible teen. It was my first presidential election,
right? And
all of the talk about the information superhighway, the internet that they were going to turn loose, and it was going to be a technological revolution, and it was the Democrats that were pushing that.
And
right?
The thing is now is it very well could be, and now they're wanting to stop it.
Now it's completely reversed.
Now they don't want you to have access to the knowledge because they still want to control the gateway.
Right.
They still institutions of higher learning. Think about this. Every few years they re-edit a textbook. None of the information in the textbook changes, but where they put it is different. That way you have to buy the new book.
Right.
There's nothing honest about that.
That's right.
It's completely the opposite of it. And when you're teaching people what truth is, you're lying to them. Because most come out believing that global warming is a fact of existence, and that is an untruth. And yet, not only do they want to teach that, they want to discredit anybody who questions it. It's the exact opposite of the whole purpose of the internet.
Right.
It defeats the entire thing. And the thing is that they don't want to control just that. They want to control all of it. And Elon has the understanding
Do you think that Trump has promised Elon a nuclear plant to run his Grok AI for the? That's what I was getting at a minute ago. That the internet has been a transformative technology that has changed the world. Some would argue for the better, some would argue for the worst. I would argue it depends on who's using it.
That's exactly right.
And I remember in the late 80s, the internet was going to be a transformative new technology, and it was the Democrats that embraced it and ran on it.
Right.
Now, AI is the burgeoning transformative technology. The left is actively you
combine that technology with the internet. Knowledge is free.
Right, that's right.
And
you can have custom tailored education per child with their own AI tailored teacher that teaches that child specifically for the way that child needs to learn. That's amazing.
Yes.
That is an amazing potential for AI technology. I mean, that would change the world.
Right. Well, I mean
dramatically.
Yeah, Schoolhouse Rock made a difference in yours and mine's
That's
lives
right,
on
absolutely.
Saturday morning
I know what a
cartoons.
conjunction
Yes.
junction, what's your function is.
That's right.
Because
That's
of
right.
that song. That's right.
And
So
how bills get passed. But
it's just, I mean, what is so striking to me is the role reversal. That before it seemed to be the left that was, pushing the new technologies and, well, no, I shouldn't say the left, because the left was kind of born later, but the Democrats, right?
At that point, we were all Americans.
Right. In the early or late 80s, I should say, when Bill Clinton and Al Gore were making their first run, looking back on it now, I could, go back in the history of the Democrat Party, pretty far before I could find a candidate that, I'd be comfortable with.
Right.
But when I was a young adult, right? Well, I know I was over 18 because I voted, but in my late teens, early 20s, and that was appealing to me.
Right.
But now, where is that enthusiasm for a new transformative technology, and who's willing to do what's necessary to make America the leader in that new technology, that transformative technology? It's Trump, and talking about unleashing the energy production of our country. It's because this new technology needs it.
Well, for
us to be the leaders in it, we have to be able to produce that.
We got to be able to embrace
it. The Green New Deal purposely destroys that potential while allowing other countries to have it.
Well, the other thing too is that it traps peoples in poverty.
That's right.
When you follow it, they're not allowed to utilize their own resources to better their lives in their own country.
Right.
When Obama went to Africa, he said not everybody can have air conditioning, and
why not?
Yeah. But the thing is it's just a matter of control, and they want that control.
Right.
That's
so. If there was an administration in power that was globally influential, right? We're not talking about a little third world country that has no influence beyond their own borders, right?
Yep.
We're talking about America,
right?
That has global impact. Everything America does has global impact,
right?
And so an administration with that kind of global influence that was truly, honestly concerned with what was best for human flourishing, what could we be possible?
Right.
What would the possibilities be?
Right.
Because right now we're so hindered by the control mentality, you're too stupid to govern yourself. You need us to govern you, and we're dumb as dirt. Right? I mean, the people in leadership right now are not smart people.
No.
You hear them say things, and you think, a an elementary school child would know better than that.
Well, you would want them to know better than that,
Right.
but they're trying to control what
That's
they
right.
learn too.
Right, that's right.
Oh,
So the left is anti-human flourishing.
yes, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. They want to control everything,
Right.
including population, if
Yes.
not most of all population.
Most of all.
They want the benefits of AI
Right.
only for them.
them, right.
For them,
Yes.
not for the rest of
Right,
us.
right.
It's just like a bad sci-fi movie
Yes.
where you have the people elsewhere that have the good life and the peons
Right.
are
The dystopian sci-fi movies where the people are, living in shacks in the street.
squalor, and that's right.
And then you've got the ivory towers with the elites that live in the capital city, right? That's Hunger Games, right? The
Right,
capital
right.
city where they're all just overflowing with opulence, and you've got everybody else that's out working in the coal mines.
that's exactly right.
That's how they won.
Yes, because it's about them.
That's right.
They want to push God out because they want to be in God's place.
Correct.
And you hear the Big Bang pushed as a way to eliminate God from the equation, but it doesn't work. Let's go there for a minute. So, sorry, I'm going to leave CO2 Coalition up and get rid of all the other stuff. All right. Now let's talk about black holes. They tell us to look at a black hole as putting a steel ball on a rubber sheet. So the steel ball goes down into there, and here at this point, nothing can escape, not even light. So, let's look at this before the Big Bang. Okay, so you got this like a drip. You got this coming in like a drip, and it goes down, 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 and you get to the dot. Now, the thing is about global warming, not global warming, but the Big Bang, is that there is no space. There's no space,
Right.
There's no time. You have all matter, all space and time in this tiny little dot right there. Okay, now let's look at this with the simple equation that we hated in school. Distance equals rate times time. Distance equals rate times time. Okay, so what do we know about distance? In our universe, distance and time are considered infinite.
Right.
So we'll just put the symbol up for infinity, even though this isn't a number, this is just a concept. All right, times rate. Now we get to the crux of the problem, which is time. Inside this bubble, there's no time. So if
So that would be zero.
well, it's not really zero because you have something present. So it's not zero, but it's as close to zero as you can possibly get. So we'll put that in mathematical form by calling 0.01. Okay, so you have infinity equals rate times time times point repeating 0, 1, which is as close you can get to zero without actually it being zero. The problem you run into this equation is that mathematically there is no force that we can put against this mathematical representation of time to even get a single whole number on the other side of this equation. You can't even get a 1 mathematically with this number being present. So the only way that
regardless of what rate would be.
Right. It's you can't.
But we don't even have anything to put there for rate at all.
No, because that's right. That's right. Because there is no rate. There's nothing there.
So with that formula, if there's no r, well then that would be 0.
Right.
And 0 times point infinity 0 1 would still be 0.
Yes, for all intents and purposes. You can't even get a 1 out of this side of the equation. You can't even get a 1 out of this, much less infinity.
Right.
So the only way you can get here is you have to add infinity. That's the only way that you can get infinity out of nothing, is with infinity being added.
Right.
Where in the world, where in God's world did this infinity come from?
Well, unless you call that infinity God, because that's what needed to be added there to make it work, is God.
Right. That's exactly right. There is nothing less miraculous about this model of the universe than the young universe model.
Right.
They are both equally miraculous. So if you want to go against the miracle of existence being the Big Bang, you can't get around the crux of the problem that nothing would still exist.
Right. If there was nothing to start with, then there would be nothing now
to end with.
So there had to be something that has always been, which is the eternal God.
Something beyond our universe.
Right.
Even if you go to the multiverse side of the equation, what's still beyond? I mean, you still have to get past this universe,
right?
And
if it's beyond our universe, then by definition, that is supernatural, not natural.
That's exactly right.
So there has to be the only possible explanation for the existence of the material universe is a supernatural cause.
Yes, something miraculous.
Something outside of nature.
Yes. Something beyond our understanding.
Right. Let me put the question to you this way, and if you want to write it on the board, I think it would look
Go ahead.
Well. What would be the numeric value of the creative force of time and matter?
Oh, I think you have to go to infinity, which is not a number; it's a concept.
Well, so that's what I'm saying. The numerical value for the creative force. So if you were going to put the creative, say, ability, creative force, creative ability, the possibility,
energy,
right? The creative force of time and matter. If you were going to express that in a number, what would it be?
I don't think you can.
I would be 0, right?
Because right. When you're talking about the dot, yes, that's 0.
It doesn't matter how long I leave this table sitting here.
You can't. You can't leave this table because there's no time in which to leave it.
Right. So for this concept, right, it doesn't matter how long I leave this table sitting here. It's never going to create anything else because it is dead matter. Right. There's no creative force in this table
that we understand.
Right? So time doesn't matter.
No.
Because this is dead matter.
Right.
So it's never going to create, no matter how long I let it sit here, it will never create anything else.
No.
So what would the creative power of dead matter and time be expressed numerically? It'd be 0. Right? It'd be 0. So 0 times
anything is still 0.
Anything is still 0.
Right.
So it doesn't matter, right? Let me say it this way. What is the creative power of this table?
Nothing.
0. So expressed numerically, it's 0.
Right.
So you put that 0 times 4 billion years.
Right.
It's still 0.
It's still 0.
Right. There has to be another explanation for where life came from other than dead matter.
Right.
If you start with dead matter has no creative power.
And yet when you boil it down to the origin, according to the Big Bang, of all space and time being encapsulated into a space-time matter bubble that's
Right.
infinitely small.
Right.
It's
No creative power.
no, there's nothing. There's nothing there. Right. Yes.
And you know, and I know this is a discussion for another time. There's a whole lot of literature, you know, we could go through on this, but so many of the assumptions, right? Because that's science.
Yes,
science works to a great degree.
You start with a theory, and
Right.
then you test that theory.
So many of the assumptions that are necessary for the Big Bang,
Right. Yeah.
they just don't work.
No,
they don't
no,
work.
because you can't get out of this.
Right.
You cannot get around the fact
Yeah.
there's no time for anything to happen.
Yeah.
That's
I like what I heard one scientist say when he was talking about, and he was a creationist, I think a astrophysicist, which from what I've been told, that's like the top of the ladder when it comes to sciences is astrophysicist.
go ahead. I'll get sidetracked. Go ahead, please. Continue.
This astrophysicist, I'm trying to remember his name, but he works at Answers in Genesis. He's done really great work on the problem of distant starlight, because that's one of the arguments about a young Earth. So they say, well, if the Earth is this young, 6,000 years, you know, say give or take, you know, so 6,000 years, that's a whole lot different than 4 billion years.
Right.
So people say, well, it can't be 6,000 years old because this starlight that we see is this many light years away, and it would take billions of years for us to see that light.
Yes.
He's done some incredible work on that. And they've actually found places in space where they can observe time changes, where something entering what they call a time sink, something entering that time sink, coming out the other side of it almost instantaneously with no passage of time across it.
Right.
That's pretty amazing.
Right.
But anyway, he said, yeah, I believe in the Big Bang. It's in Genesis 1:1. In the beginning, God created God created the heavens and the earth, and he said, bang, there it was.
Right. Well, and you know, in the first, and I don't believe that there is one accurate translation of the Bible. I think there are sections of the Bible where certain translations are more accurate than other translations in certain parts. You know, and you talk about the translations where in the beginning there was the void. Mm-hmm. In the void, nothing, no time, no matter, and then God separated the light from the dark.
Right.
Can you?
Where's the light?
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, but do you think about that? At the point of busting open the space-time bubble, you would get
and light and dark were present. Well, I guess we would say light was present and dark was where there was the absence of light. But he separated the light from the dark.
Right. Yes.
Before there was heavenly bodies. Because then it says he created the sun and the moon.
Yes.
And so, what was that light and dark? The energy that was there to be, he created. That's the Genesis 1:1. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth.
Yes, that's exactly right.
All 5 principles of science, right? All of our science is based on Genesis 1:1.
Right. Yes. And then we want to deny.
Right.
Yes. Even though it's still the most reasonable explanation, we don't want to acknowledge that because we want man. And the thing is, the crux the problem we're having right now is the problem that they had centuries ago with that, where man considered himself the center of the universe, and Galileo was put into a tower, and because he said that we weren't, and now they want to go back to that. They want to go back to there is nothing more powerful than man.
Right. That's right. And that's one of the things about the left that I think is really at the root of all their other stuff, is that they cannot stand the idea of God.
That's something that they would have to answer to.
Exactly. That's it. So I was trying to think of the right term for that. It's not that they are, specifically anti-Christian or anti-religion, or it's that they cannot comprehend or accept or acknowledge that there is a higher authority than themselves.
That's right.
And so they attack it and say, no, we're not going to allow it. So they try to suppress religion. They try to suppress free expression. They try to suppress all these things because they don't believe that there's an equality of ideas there. They don't believe that everybody should have the right to have their own mind.
And that goes back to what this election is about, which is the control of knowledge.
Right.
That's the bottom line to it.
Now, that's not to say that they're not anti-Christian. They are.
Yes.
But the reason they are is because they believe that they are the highest authority.
Well, and the thing is that they are not only anti-Christian, they're anti-other religions too.
Right.
But we are a peaceful religion, so they know that they can attack us without consequences.
That's absolutely true. Why don't they marginalize Islam the way that they do Christianity?
It might be self-defeating because they might cease to exist.
That's right. It's because Islam...
They might actually have to meet God if they do that.
That's right. Yeah, because Islam blows stuff up when you disrespect
Islam. That's right.
Christians just say, bless your heart, I'll pray for you. Right?
Right.
So they don't care.
Even Gandhi acknowledged forgiveness being morally superior toward, quote, justice.
Of course.
And now we're going backwards because everybody... They promote justice over forgiveness.
Right.
That's, matter of fact, you can't even forgive generations down the line. That we can't label people racist unless it's white people. Then we can label them racist.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And please tell me where on the planet there's an absence of political geo-violence anywhere on the planet. Please tell me where that has not taken place. You want to vilify the United States, but yet we are no more guilty of slavery than the entire New World, and yet we're the only ones
less so.
Yeah, and we're
the American slave trade was. Had a lower, I'm not sure the right way to say it, a lower volume maybe, or a lower intensity than other countries did, and still do.
Well, they want to twist Washington and Jefferson into being pro-slavery,
right?
And that is the exact opposite. That's one of the reasons why they went through with the Revolution, was it was a step to get rid of slavery,
right?
And the United States is the one that literally fought the war about slavery, and when other countries saw how horrible it went in the United States, they did something different, but they were moving toward eliminating slavery. Right. We are no more guilty than any other country out there.
Not as most.
That's right. And yes. And perhaps the reason of our success isn't because what we have done wrong. Perhaps the reason of our success is because what we did right.
Well, isn't that usually how success works? You don't become successful by making the wrong decisions. You become successful by making the right decisions.
Right, and nobody's saying that bad things didn't happen.
Sure.
Nobody's saying that at all. But what happened here was no more guilty than what happened elsewhere in the world.
Well, let me ask this. Is there anywhere in the Constitution of the United States of America that legislates slavery? In any part of our Constitution that
I think it's the exact
gives
opposite.
legal authority to the practice of slavery.
Well, I think the one of the things they didn't put into it was property, the right to property, and the reason why was because then people would say slaves are my property.
Right.
That was cut out of the documents because slavery existed.
say something about the 2/3 law and the gross misinterpretation of the 2/3 law.
Go ahead, please.
It's part of the congressional representation based on the population, right? We get as many representatives as our population stipulates, and there's,
now you're running into
right
the immigration, the illegal immigration,
right.
all the
and there's a stipulated number in the Constitution for this many people.
You have this much representation.
This much representation, right? So they wrote in the 2/3 law, which
explain that to people that don't know.
It's you need 3. I think it was, if I'm saying it right, I think it's 3 slaves to make, or maybe it's 1/3 law. So 3 slaves.
Oh yes, I know what. Yes,
one slave equals 1 population point.
Right.
Right. So so they say, well, see, they didn't even consider slaves whole human beings. They were considered a 1/3 of a person. The whole point was that the slave holding states couldn't use their slave population to pack the House, the House of Representatives in Washington, right? So they couldn't count their slave population. Well, they couldn't say that you can't count your slaves, because then the slave states would have revolted, and that would have brought on the Civil War a lot earlier, probably.
Perhaps, or maybe that
maybe have brought the American experiment to a very brief failed conclusion if they tried to push that. No, you can't count your slaves. So they did make concessions for the sake of the young country that they were forming, and very wisely so, right? Because it would have destroyed the possibility of having a country if they had pushed certain things at that time.
Right.
So they came up with the 1/3 clause to say, okay, for every 3 slaves, you get 1 population point for your representation in Congress.
Right. Well, the thing too now is that they've let in, intentionally so, a whole bunch of illegal immigrants that has nothing to do with race.
Right. They
They want to say it's about race because otherwise it defeats their argument. Mm-hmm. It's not about race. And the thing is about slavery is there are 300,000 children
missing
that are unaccounted for.
Yes.
300,000. And we're supposed to just accept that that's okay?
No.
If it's Kamala and Biden set this up, and we're supposed to just accept that there aren't any consequences for what's taken place in the past 4 years.
There's 2 movies that I would like for us to sit and watch together, and then have a podcast.
Am I racist?
Review. Yeah, that's one of them.
Go ahead.
Yeah, have a podcast reviewing those 2 movies. One of them is Am I Racist? Matt Walsh.
Right.
It's available now. We can watch it. The other one is on the Tucker Carlson network. It's Lying in the Sand. That's James O'Keefe's new movie about immigration, and he actually went with someone into South America and came back with the migrant caravans coming across. And he came across the border with them. Of course, he's an American citizen, so it wouldn't be illegal, but he came across with them. Right. And he documented the whole process. There are parts of that movie that, it was...
Why?
I was almost incapable of processing the information.
It was so offensive and difficult to know.
So offensive and difficult to know. It was like, it's one of those things, and I don't mean this because I want to know the truth, and you can't do something about it if you don't know about it.
Yes, that's
so I'm glad that the information has been made available out there, but it's to the point of, my brain almost shutting down saying, no, that can't be true.
Right.
That cannot be right.
Right.
They're out there on the border in the middle of the night, filming, people coming across the holes in the fence and, all kinds of stuff. And they're documenting all this stuff.
Right.
And there's like a 6-year-old girl all by herself walking on the American side of the fence. They're asking her, where's your father? He's in heaven. Where's your mother? I don't know. She's just by herself.
Right.
Has been dumped out there on the border.
Right.
Totally unaccounted. Now, what are the Border Patrol going to do with her? Well, they do in the movie. Pick her up, take her to the processing center. She gets sent off.
Yes.
Who knows where?
Yes.
They don't know where.
Yes. Yes.
It was almost like I had to block it out.
Yes. 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 One of the,
It's so.
Yeah.
Honestly, what I felt in the moment was to load up all of my offensive gear in my truck and drive down to the southern border and start gathering children.
Yes,
and say, if you try to touch them, you're not getting out alive.
Right.
So you either leave me alone and let me get these children somewhere safe, or we're going to have an armed conflict.
Yes.
That's how I feel about it.
Right. Right.
And I can't believe it's not happening.
Well, one of the few times I got mad at Glenn Beck was, and the thing is they want to paint the picture of before white man got here, everything being all roses, violets,
right.
and clean water. That's, right. And the thing is I got mad at him because without warning, he started explaining what the Incas and Aztecs did to children to satisfy their
demon god?
Yes, that's exactly right. That's literally
child
torturing,
sacrifice, yes.
Literally torturing children to death.
Yeah.
Torturing,
But
not just killing them outright.
Yeah.
And I got mad at him because he didn't give me a warning. Because I don't need to know about the horrors of man. I get it.
I get it. Yeah,
I get
right.
it. I don't need.
Right.
It would have been nice that if you don't want to hear what happened, turn your radio. I would have loved to have that little bit.
Yeah, trigger warning.
Yes,
yeah,
yes,
that's right.
yes. But they want to ignore, just ignore, paint over, and that's what it goes down to. This election being about knowledge. That's the bottom line to it. It's about what is out there, what we believe is actually real. Mm-hmm. And they want us to accept a whole bunch of stuff that's just completely made up, at the same time discounting my religion because they think it's all made up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really do think that we are, at this moment, we are engaged in a
spiritual war,
and it's wars ebb and flow, right? There's major offensives that get defended, and then everybody pulls back and reassesses, and I think that we're in the midst of one of those full-blown assaults from hell,
right?
And we're seeing it in our world.
Well, Satan, if he exists, has more power now than he's had in a really long
absolutely.
time.
I mean, he has, and when I say he, I have no doubt that he's real. I can see him, working in the world very effectively.
Yes.
And there's no other explanation for it. That this is demonic influence.
You mean killing a baby to further your career?
Yes. Yeah. Right. Yeah. When Fleetwood Mac.
Yes.
Singer,
Stevie Nicks. If I would have kept the baby,
right.
Fleetwood Mac would no longer exist.
So what Stevie Nicks said, if I can interpret her psychobabble into plain English, I sacrificed a human baby to further my career.
Right.
That goes back to what you said. That's demonic. That's demon worship. That's the cult of Molech, offering up your babies to the demon Molech for
a
fruitful fields.
better life
right.
here.
That's right. For better crops, for better prosperity. Here, take the blood of these infants. That's exactly what it is. Abortion, that's exactly what it is. Oh, I will be able to further my career, make more money, be more famous, be more whatever,
right,
if I sacrifice a baby to do it. That's demonic.
Yeah.
That comes, and you go back in the history of the world, like you were talking about the Aztecs and what Glenn Beck said they did to
right.
children and infants,
right.
you know, in that, and women too. They found a mass grave of women and little girls. And from examining the remains of these women and little girls that were in this mass grave, and there were thousands of them in this mass grave, it was clear that they had been killed by ritual sacrifice.
And Trump is evil.
That's right. Yeah.
That's right. You have human sacrifice occurring on this side of the election equation.
Yes, that's right.
And Trump is evil.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So the only
So-
rational explanation that I can find for why our government has gotten the way that it has is because over the years, and I'll explain to you how I, my opinion on how demonic influence works.
Right.
But the only explanation I can come up with is that our government, our leadership, left and right both, are almost wholly under the sway of demonic influence.
Why are the Epstein names hidden?
That's right.
Why is it that we don't know the celebrities hanging out with Diddy?
Right.
Could they
Yes,
be the
that's right.
same? Could they be the same people?
The same people. That's right.
If you follow those people up, could you get to maybe the same people that designed the curriculum that teaches us to sexualize our children in the age of kindergarten?
Yes. I believe
do you run into the same people? Is that why
Absolutely.
we don't know? Why don't we know? Why don't we know who's putting out? There are authors to these curriculum
That's right.
being taught.
That's right.
Why don't we know who they are? We have a press that's supposed to stand up for us.
Yeah. I want to know how many bottles of Diddy's baby oil they used, right? I mean, it is perversion. They have to be, for them to think the way that they think, they have to be perverts.
And they also have to discard any repercussions for their actions afterward.
That's right.
You have to discount the existence of a hell straight out in order to
accountability.
Right. Well,
I can do whatever evil thing I want to do now to gratify whatever sick pleasures I get out of it, and there's no consequences, no repercussions, because there's no God, there's no devil, there's no hell, and so I'm just going to do whatever I want here. And so that's the kind of thing that atheism leads to.
And the mass, you want to talk about what's a common aspect to mass shooters is atheism.
Atheism, that's right.
They don't want to voice that, but every single one of them is an atheist.
Right.
I mean, and I'll go back to Columbine when the girl said, "God loves you. There is no God," and he shot her in the head.
Right. That's right. Yeah. That's it would be pretty hard to imagine somebody who believed that they were engaging in something that was going to cause them to suffer eternally in condemnation to go do that, right? So, of course, they don't believe in anything other than their own agendas and willingness to kill people for their own agendas.
Right.
But what I had started to say a minute ago is, when I'm looking at the two different options, right? Left, right.
Right.
Okay? And I'm looking at the two different options. The left, do you ever hear anybody on the left even mention Epstein or his list or releasing the list? Or they never even bring it up at all. It's like it doesn't exist.
That's exactly right. They want to act like it doesn't exist.
But then you have Trump, and I heard, did you see J.D. Vance's interview with Theo Vaughn?
No.
I mean, J.D. Vance is just a normal guy.
Yeah,
And he sits there for over 2 hours.
Right. And if you're an atheist, yes, J.D. Vance is weird.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I can see where an atheist would think that, yeah. But he sat there and just had this conversation with Theo Vaughn for over 2 hours, and it was a good conversation. It was funny. Yeah. It was deep. they discuss some deep ideas, and J.D. Vance is you can tell by listening to him talk, it's just in casual conversation, because he wasn't getting into any deep policy discussions or anything. He was having a casual conversation.
Right.
But in his casual conversation, he's articulating some deep ideas and making them simple and including them in casual conversation. I'm thinking, this is a smart guy.
Right.
This is not a dummy.
No.
And so you hear Trump say it, you hear J.D. Vance say it, you hear other people on the right say it. We want the Epstein list. We want it released.
Yes.
The left is like, what list? Epstein who? Diddy? Who's Diddy?
Yes.
Right? Because they're all in it. They're on the list.
Yes.
And they don't want it to come out.
No,
they don't even want to acknowledge that it exists.
No, they don't want to acknowledge that it exists. Yeah.
So
that's the reason why knowledge is the crux of this election. It's not about Kamala. It's not about Trump. It's about the control of knowledge.
That's right.
All right.
Thanks for watching,
Thanks for watching, y'all. Take care. Vote correctly.
Yeah, meaning vote for Trump.
Yeah, vote for the right, meaning what's right.
What's right.
Don't vote for what's wrong. Vote for what's right. And
vote for living, prosperous, healthy babies. How about that?
And the freedom of knowledge.
Freedom of knowledge. That's right.
There should be no barriers. Nobody should have, at this point, nobody should be the one in control of information. The information is out there.
Right. Just think about this. Trump gets elected, sets up his DOGE, Department of Government Efficiency, with Elon Musk at the head, cleans up the government, gets administration in place that builds a nuclear energy plant to power Elon's Grok AI, and we achieve artificial general intelligence, and we see. I mean, Trump already established Star Force, right? So next thing is we got Grok out there on the moon building the Enterprise to go off into space.
It's not Trump that wants to put people in camps.
That is true.
That is true. It's the left that wants to have the hierarchy of the elites and us being the little peons that provide whatever they need for what they want.
I so much love the way that Trump has reacted to Biden calling all of his supporters garbage.
I forgot my garbage bag to wear today.
Yeah.
So,
and did you see that he showed up at the rally
in the garbage truck?
Where
Wisconsin, Green Bay.
Yeah, that's right. Showed up in a Trump branded garbage truck wearing a garbage man coverall, and Vivek Ramaswamy was out on a garbage truck actually gathering trash.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
Somebody drew the old Garbage Pail Kids trading cards, drew a Trump Garbage Pail Kid trading card that looked really cool.
That's good.
And I just love how they've turned it into, okay, so now what?
Yeah.
You called us garbage.
That's right.
Now what's your next move?
It's beyond the people.
That's right.
That's the bottom line.
All right. Thanks for watching, folks. We'll see you next time.
Take care. Yep.